Hi, and happy Monday. My name's Angelica Lamas Baker, and you've stumbled onto my podcast, The Rare Queen Out of the Blue. Hello again, and welcome back, y'all. Happy New Year. So, you've reached The Rare Queen Out of the Blue, and if you have listened since I launched in the fall of last year, you notice that there was a big gap between November and December and now. And there were kind of several reasons for that. One of those was as I mentioned in a couple of the last podcasts, I haven't been the healthiest. I've been struggling with some kidney stones and some severe carpal tunnel. I'm going to have surgery later this month on my hand. So I've been kind of working through some things there. And then, December, the holidays are really kind of a hard time, as I mentioned in my last podcast about grief for my family, because we've suffered a lot of loss during the holidays, and so we typically do an all stop in our house for towards the end of December there, so that we can kind of just remember those that we've lost, and then kind of focus on doing some things that we enjoy doing with them, like traveling. Dean and I made our way up to Cheyenne, Wyoming. He had never been, and kind of hung out there for a few days and did some sightseeing and saw some trains, which is something that his dad really, really enjoyed doing. And then I also took the time to kind of come up with some intentions for 2021, and I did come up with an intentional phrase for 2021 for me, and that is focused, measurable, innovative progress. That's my goal for this year, is to have some focused, measurable, innovative progress. Now, that doesn't mean that the progress is going to be like leaps and bounds and so fast that my head is going to spin. It just means that I have to be able to measure it. It has to be focused towards some specific goals, and it has to go forward. It has to progress. So there's that. And with that being said, because of my health issues, and honestly because some people reached out to me to talk about what they'd like to see as far as topics and things like that, or what they'd like to hear as far as topics, that led me to my topic for today, which is self-advocacy. So self-advocacy is typically thought of, honestly, especially because I am part of the rare disease community, the chronic illness community, it's thought a lot about health-wise. You self-advocate for yourself in the healthcare arena so that you get the proper treatments that you need if you have a chronic illness, if you get sick all of a sudden, and things like that. So that's a lot of what people think self-advocacy is about, or why. But honestly, self-advocacy is a skill and something to have for every facet of your life, for your education, for your relationships, for your jobs. All those things require some self-advocacy in one way or another. Self-advocacy is just honestly knowing yourself, knowing what you need or want, and knowing how to get it. Those are simple enough concepts, right? Self-advocacy, in theory, is so super simple. It's just the ability to speak up for yourself and the things that are important to you, and ask for what you want or what you need, and to tell people about your thoughts and ideas and your feelings. Again, simple. But why is it so hard? Here's the deal. Self-advocacy requires us to have a voice. Not just a voice, it requires us to have a strong voice about ourselves and about our wants and desires and our needs. And that's hard. That is so, so hard. I'm going to speak about it from the aspects of being a girl, from being a woman, because there is a big, huge gender gap when it comes to self-advocacy and how it's looked at in the world, through society and everything. And I could speak to you from a lady's perspective because I'm a lady. There's a gender issue. Historically, men have been thought of as being assertive, self-confident, direct, and all those things. They're the go-getters. They're the breadwinners. They're that in the world. They are supposed to be the sharks. They are supposed to be the ones going after and getting and achieving. Whereas women historically have been thought of as meek and modest and unselfish. We're the nurturers, right? So for us to kind of try to self-advocate for ourselves, it's complicated. For women to self-advocate, the world views it as a negative connotation for women. Because there are those gender roles and those stereotypes that have been thrust upon society. Now, I'm not talking about gender identity. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not going to talk about any of that. What I'm talking about is the fact that life has sort of flip-flopped some of our roles, and that's okay. There are some women who are more equipped, who have better education, who have better opportunities that come along than their husbands, and that's okay. Sometimes the husband is the better nurturer, or it's better for them to stay home and be the stay-at-home dad or do whatever is best for the family, and that's okay. But here's the deal, is psychological research still shows that women that strive to be more of a self-advocate for themselves about what they desire, while they perform better in the workplace, they perform better in life, they're still seen as being less likable by society and by societal standards. They're still looked upon as being, well, let's just face it, the word is bitchy. You know, you're still looked at as being negative. If a woman is trying to be that shark and that go-getter for their family, they're not viewed as likable as the one next to them that is always there, you know, cooking and cleaning and doing all those things for their family. Just because you're a go-getter doesn't mean that you're not nurturing your family, that you're not doing the cooking, you're not doing the cleaning, you're not doing all that. My mom is a prime example. My mom was a single working mom, and she did work. She worked a lot, but she was there for us when we needed it. She was there to cook meals. She was there for birthdays. If she wasn't able to be there, she made sure somebody else was. So there's that. Here's the deal. Also, that women are nurturers. We're more likely to speak up for somebody else other than ourselves. And that's true. And society is okay with that. So if a woman is fighting for somebody else, or for their kids, or for somebody who has less than them, society says that's okay. And they are looked on as being selfless, and they excel amazingly at the advocacy work. But if they're doing it for themselves, it's, again, viewed as being negative. So I'm a self-advocate. I am a rare disease patient advocate. I self-advocate for myself. But I do it also for other people. But here's the deal. When I'm advocating for other people, I'm also advocating for myself. It's kind of a hand-in-hand process. If you're advocating for yourself, I promise you there's somebody else out in the world with a story that is similar to yours, and you are helping them. So it's so very important to self-advocate. But why also is it hard? It's the thing. It's the thing that makes everything hard in life. Fear. Another reason why it's so hard to self-advocate is fear. There's the fear of rejection and the fear of denial. Because no one wants to be told no. No one wants to be told not right now. Nobody wants to be laughed at. Nobody wants to be rejected. Fear. So here's the deal. I'm going to pull out a scripture here real quick, because part of the podcast has been developing into not just about my life's journey and my coaching and all that sort of stuff. It's also about how my faith has helped me and how my faith has helped me be a self-advocate. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. It's as simple. We were not born with a spirit of fear. Have you ever seen kids? Kids are fearless because they haven't learned about the things that society expects of them. They haven't learned all these norms and status quos that society puts on us, all these generational curses, all these other things. They're just so fearless because you're born without a spirit of fear. You develop that throughout life, through the limiting beliefs and things that are taught to you throughout growing up. And so we need to self-advocate to get away from those. We need to take an examination of all of those things that we're afraid of and kind of look at them. Because guess what? Here's the thing. Rejection and denial are not permanent. 9 times out of 10, rejection and denial are not permanent. I'm not talking about no means no and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about when you want something and you have this goal and you have this project or you have this thing that you want to have accomplished, and everybody keeps telling you no, 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 or not right now. Those rejections are not permanent. Number one, if one person's telling you no, the next person might tell you yes. Now, Terry always reminds me, my friend Terry, because I was back and forthing about applying to be a speaker for the Living Rare forum that Nord has every year, and I'm like, I don't want to do it because every year I get told no, I get told no, I get told. Every time I apply to be a speaker, it's a no, 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 and I can't. My spirit itself at the moment, my psyche, where I am, I can't deal with much more rejection. I'm just at my, after all this happened in 2020 and everything else, I cannot. I have so much anxiety and things on me right now that I don't feel like I could deal with any more rejection. And we went for a couple of days and went down to Eureka Springs and hung out and did some things. So I talked to her a little bit, and she just kind of looked at me. She's like, you know what I'm going to say? If you don't even ask, if you don't even try, the answer is always going to be no. If you want to know if it's going to be a different answer, you've got to at least try. Fine. So I did apply. There you go. Have I got my response back? No. Do I have a lot of hope that I'm going to be accepted? No, not really. But guess what? Rejection and denial are not permanent. Most of the time, it just means not right now. It just means that the time is not right. Delayed does not mean denied. It just means that the timing is not right. That maybe you haven't set down the foundation, the blueprint to get where you want to be in the right way yet. Everything comes down to a plan. Whether it's the military and you're thinking about a strategic move, or it's life in general. Life is just nothing but a huge battle between yourself and those things that you want or the things that you need. And so you need a strategy and you need a game plan and you need to focus on it. Because planning means that you are motivated, that you're inspired, that this is important to you. And not only that, that you appreciate the time that you have and the time that the other people involved have. Because you're trying to fit everything in. And so delayed does not mean denied. It could just very well mean that you need to go back to the drawing board and fine-tune the plan to get you to where you mean to be. There are other factors to consider that maybe you didn't necessarily consider when you sat down the game plan. Part of what I do as an advocacy coach, as a mindset and an empowerment coach, part of what I do is I'm a sounding board for people. I'm not there to tell you what to do and what not to do. Dean and I get into this argument a lot because he doesn't understand what I do. And of course, he's one of these people that if you give him an idea or you pose a different way, it's that you're telling him that the way that he's doing it is wrong. That's not it. I'm thinking you need to look at it maybe from a different perspective. And that's my job as a life coach. That's what I do. I help people look at things from a different perspective. I am a non-interested third party, whereas your achievements are good for me. You know, whether or not you succeed or fail is based on you. I am the sounding board to help you come up with these game plans and things to make your life progress in a focused, measurable, and innovative way. So here's the deal. Why is self-advocacy so important in every facet of your life? Why is it important to be a self-advocate? I'm not going to give you all the reasons. Seriously, I'm not. If I gave you guys all the reasons all the time, I would be here for ever and a day talking to you about self-advocacy, because it's one of those topics I really enjoy, because it took me a really long time in life to advocate for myself. I was in an abusive relationship at one point, and it took me years to get out of that and say that I'm more important and I deserve better. As far as my health and my PKU goes, it took me years to accept, not that I didn't know that I had my PKU, but to accept that within me, and to say, okay, if you're not going to help me, I need to find people who can, because I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to have all these fears, these phobias, this anxiety, this depression, all of this brain fog, all of this. I need something better for myself, and in turn, something better for myself is something better for my family. So self-advocacy is one of those things that I could just talk about forever and a day. For my education, it took me a long time to say, I need this additional help. I want to go back to college and I want to do these things and all these things and excel. But it's so hard for me to say, I need this extra help in this subject or to do this extra stuff. And I had to sit down myself and tell myself this last couple of months, you need to self-advocate for yourself in the education arena, in those things that you want to excel in, because while you're really good about your health care and you're really good about all these things, you're not good about that. Because self-advocacy isn't just about healthcare and relationships, it's about your education, it's about everything in your life. So here's the deal. The number one reason I can think of why self-advocacy is so important. It's simple. It is a simple concept. Ask and ye shall receive. Matthew 7 and 8. Ask and it shall be given. Seek and you will find it. Knock and it shall be opened for you. It's as simple as that. Ask and ye shall receive. We would like to think that the people in our lives can telepathically and instinctively know what our needs and wants are, especially our spouses and our close friends and our parents. But hold on. Here's the thing. We're not all Betazoids. We're not all the Betazoids from Star Trek that come from Betazoid that can instinctively read minds and read the empathies and emotions that are coming from people and know exactly what they want out of life or what they need. We're not all the amazing Kreskin and we can't read minds. It's not a thing. I know as a life coach, it's my job to develop skills in order to assess body language and emotions and read your eyes, because you know the eyes are the window to the soul. I mean, it's my job to be able to read those things, but guess what? That's not everybody's job. That's not everybody's bailiwick. That's not everybody's forte. If you don't tell them, they don't know. It's as simple as that. As a student, if we're not getting a concept right, if we're not understanding, if we need more help, if we need a different way to understand a concept or something that we're learning, if we don't speak up and tell the teacher that I need this, the teacher is just going to assume that you're not doing the work, that you're not putting in the time. But guess what? You could sit there and pound your head against the wall, reading a book over and over and over again. But if you're dyslexic and you haven't been diagnosed, or you just don't understand what you're reading, how are they supposed to know? They're just going to assume that you're not putting in the work. And my brother is dyslexic, and for years and years and years, he's super smart. He's so intelligent, and it's his birthday today, and that's super exciting. But anyway, he had such a hard time in school. Like, he excelled when he was younger in school, but then when it got up to like junior high and high school, he started falling behind. And we never could figure it out. And mom finally had to go to the school and say, he doesn't understand. He's doing the work. I'm sitting here watching him. His younger sister is sitting there. They're reading. They're doing it. But he's just not getting it. Now, she had to advocate for him because he kept telling the teachers, I don't understand. And they kept just assuming he's screwing around and he's not doing the work. If you don't advocate for yourself and say, hey, I don't understand. I need this specific tool or this specific method in order to help me learn. How are they supposed to know? As a wife or husband, I mean, you would like to think that your spouse can automatically read what you want. I understand that when you go into a restaurant and you guys order, like Dean and I have been married, it'll be 19 years this year. And he knows what I want to drink. He never wants to order for me. But he knows exactly what I like to drink. I like Dr. Pepper. I like all these. I know instinctively he's always going to order water. Now, he may order a beer or something, or a soda also, or something else with his water. But 9 times out of 10, right out of the bat, Dean is going to order water. So I know when we sit down and he's not with me, he's going to want water. Now, not everybody is that observative. Not everybody is that person. Not everybody is that comfortable ordering for somebody. I mean, there are those things that you just know instinctively that they're going to do because it's just their pattern, it's just their way. But guess what? They can't read your mind. If, like right now during the pandemic and things like that, in 2019, I traveled so much. I did. I was all over the place all of the time. And it got to the point that Dean was getting frustrated. And he finally was like, you know what? And I'm like, you know, he would just yell when I'd get home and he'd be upset. He would take my phone calls and I'm like, you know what is the problem? And he's like, well, you know, you're always gone. It's like, I'm not important. The house isn't important to you. I'm not important. Like, you don't want to spend time with me. It's not that you're not important. It's just that and he's like, I get that you're doing things and you're working and you're doing things for other people and you're advocating. I get that. And you would think being married for so long, his assumption was that I just knew that he was feeling left out and unimportant. Every opportunity I travel, every opportunity I'm going to do something, I always do ask Dean if he wants to go with me, but he always is like, no, I got to stay home. But if you don't tell the other person how you feel, they're not going to know, especially if they're not looking at you. Like, we talk over the phone and Dean gets very harsh and things like that. And I don't know what his emotions are because I can't actually look and see. Like, I'm not physically looking at him. But here's the deal. If he didn't tell me that he felt like he was being pushed aside and that he was unimportant, how am I supposed to know? Well, on the flip side, here in 2020, I had all these major plans. I wanted to do a book tour. I wanted to do all these things that I was going to be going. And then it got to be the pandemic and I couldn't go anywhere. And Dean just finally looked at me not too long ago. He was like, you need to leave. Dude, you need to go somewhere. You're going stir crazy. You're driving me crazy. So on the flip side, while when I'm gone, he feels like he's unimportant, he's now learned that that's part of what I do and part of my job. And if I'm not there advocating for other people and doing my book tours and going and making appearances and doing these things, then that's part of who I am and my identity now, that I get super depressed and I get super like, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything. And now he's learned, okay, there's got to be a balance. So if you don't know, how are you going to know if nobody tells you? Again, ask for it and you will get it. It might not be right away, mind you. It might be a delayed response. There may be some additional work you got to put in order to get what you want. Like I said with Dean, he felt unimportant. He felt like, you know, all this. And I'm like, okay, well then what's your game plan? Well, maybe I should go with you occasionally. Maybe at least 1 or 2 trips a year I should go with you and see what you do and spend some time with you doing what you do. And seeing what, you know, there may be some fine tuning that needs to happen in order for you to get what you want, but it's going to be there. Ask and ye shall receive. It may be slow, but progress is progress. Number 2, healthy relationships are built and based on a foundation of mutual respect. The golden rule: do unto others as you want done to you. Examine your situations that you're in, your relationships. If you're afraid to express your needs and wants to anyone in a relationship with you, then there probably is a balance issue. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, a spouse, a coworker, a parent. Think about it. As far as healthcare goes, if I'm afraid to tell my doctor that I hurt or that a treatment isn't working for me for XYZ reasons, because I'm leery that they may label me in a negative way, like I'm a drug seeker or I'm a difficult patient, or they may speak down to me because, hey, I'm the doctor. I went to school for, 6 years and I should know these things. Not you, because I'm the doctor. Here's the deal. You may be the doctor and you may have the education from a textbook, but you don't have the real life practical experience as me to be able to tell me if a medication is making me feel sick, making me feel groggy, making me feel detached from the world. My doctor, I have to say that my general practitioner, I found, is great. He and I have this weird relationship where I can go in and tell him I have this problem. He's like, listen, is it really this or is it this? Like, we can bounce ideas off each other, because ultimately in our first couple of appointments with each other, he said, I don't know a lot about PKU. I don't know a lot about this. I'm going to learn, and I'm going to read texts, and I'm going to keep up on the medical journals, but I'm not you. I haven't lived with it for 40 years. I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what your experiences are. And if you don't tell me, I don't know how to help you fix said experiences. He knows that I have problems with severe depression. And I've been going through that for the last couple of months. So depressed. And of course, his nurse is like, well, she needs to have the mental health evaluation and all that because, she needs some sort of medication. She's not right. He's like, well, she's always depressed. She knows that she's depressed. If we have an understanding that if she gets to a point where she feels suicidal or so downward spiral, she's going to tell me. But the medications, because of her PKU, are not going to really help her much. It's just going to be a Band-Aid, and we're going to keep adjusting all the all the drugs to go with the brain chemicals in her head, but her brain chemicals in her head aren't right because of her PKU and all the years she was off treatment. So we got to treat the PKU in order to treat the depression. He understands that. He understands that the traditional treatments are not always going to work for me. I have severe pain issues, and he understands that my family has a history of addiction and that I don't want to be popping a pain pill all the time. And that my level of pain has to be pretty off the charts for me to force myself in order to take a prescription for pain on a regular basis. He knows to research different stretches and exercises, breathing methods, and whatever is going to help me get through the pain in order to fix it. Because there is a fluid balance and exchange of ideas between us, because we have a relationship where we can speak, because I have advocated for myself and said in our first appointment, this is the deal. This is what's wrong with me. Not everything has to do with my PKU, but my PKU is a part of me and plays a large factor. And if you're not going to learn how to treat it, and learn that some of your methods, like me wanting to lose weight and telling me to go on keto or Atkins, it's not going to work for me. That's going to be a problem. You should never be afraid to express yourself in any way, shape, or form. If you have that one friend that every time you get together, it's got to be about them. It's got to be, we're going to go to this restaurant, we're going to go do this thing because I want to do it and this is what I want to do. But you're not feeling it that day, and you say, I'm not feeling it, and they tell you, well, but this, that, and the other, and reason why it has to be me. And your ideas aren't valid and your things are not valid, then there's not a proper balance. You're just subservient. There's an alpha-beta situation going on, and in a friendship and in a relationship, there never should be an alpha-beta situation. My dogs, there's always an alpha and a beta when it comes to if you have multiple pets, like if you have multiple dogs. And Dean's like, well, Santiago's the alpha. I'm like, no, I'm the alpha. They're all the betas. Now, Santiago may be the quote-unquote older dog. They're the same age. There's an alpha-beta situation. There is a superior and there's a dominant and there's a subordinate situation going on. And in a relationship, like a friendship or a marriage or even a relationship with your doctors, there shouldn't be that. Think about when you look at the scales of justice, she's holding that weights and balance scale. And if you could weigh all the times that you've gone out and done the things that you want to do and done the things that they want to do, and that scale is tipped, and theirs is lower than yours because you're doing more of what they want to do than what you want to do, and your needs and wants are not being met in that relationship, that's a problem. Being a people pleaser is a problem. If you're constantly a people pleaser, like, Jackie is, and Jackie has gotten so much better. My friend Jackie has gotten so much better in the last year or so about, no, I want to do this. And no, I'm not going to do that. She used to never say no to anybody, and now she's getting so much better about it, like speaking up for herself and self-advocating. But if you're always that people pleaser, your desires, your wants, and you're going to feel unimportant. You got to make that scale somewhat balanced. Now, there are those occasions that's going to tip more in favor of one person than the other, and that's okay. Like somebody has a birthday, somebody's not feeling well. That is quite okay. But it can't be all the time. My mom, my mom cracks up because she looks at my relationship with Terry, and she thinks, that our balance and everything, like, it seems like a lot of times we do things that, to her that Terry wants to do, and like our personalities don't mesh. But here's the deal is, number one, we enjoy doing a lot of the same things. I get her out of her comfort zone and she gets me out of my comfort zone. And that's part of what being a friend is pushing your friend to try new experiences and do new things that, hey, I enjoy that maybe you're going to enjoy, and vice versa. It's not always about what they want to do and what we want to do, but we do a lot of times like, okay, what movie do you want to go see? We saw the movie I want to go see the last time. There's got to be that give and take. Just because people on the outside don't see it all the time doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You should never feel like your needs and wants are not valid to anyone. Point blank. I don't care what relationship you're in. I don't care if it's a parent-child relationship. You should never feel like your wants and needs are not valid. That's the end-all be-all of it. My mom and I have a really interesting relationship in that we can always talk to each other in a way that we're like friends, but you think it was always like that? No, because you have to progress in your relationships. Okay, a parent-child, once you reach a certain age, it becomes more of a friendship. They're your wisest friend. And guess what? They're your friend that knows you the best, typically because they're your parent. They've been there for it all. There should always be a give and take from both sides. Simple as that. Your relationship should be built on a foundation of respect. And the only way that you're going to get a foundation of respect and a balance like that is to make sure that you're speaking up for yourself. The last point I'm going to give you about self-advocacy, the third point, is self-advocacy breeds self-sufficiency. Let's think about it as a parent and a child, especially a parent of a child with special needs. You're not always going to be there. You want to think that you're always going to be there to help them. You want to think that you're always going to be there. Point blank. But the kid has school, you have work, the kid has friends, and guess what? You both have lives, and you're not always going to be there, and that's okay. Because your point as a parent is to make your child be able to operate with you not around, and you not live in a spirit of fear that they're not going to do the right thing all the time. Teaching your child to be able to respectfully and confidently speak up for themselves so that they can't have a certain food or that they can't do a certain task because of the condition they have will help them become more emotionally and intellectually independent. It's not that they don't need you. I said they don't need you for everything. And the need for you to help them in situations becomes more important of, I really need you for this situation. If they ask for your help because they need you, then you understand that that situation is so deeply important to them that they need you. They shouldn't need you to make their sandwich every day. They shouldn't need you to tell them what they can and can't eat after a certain age. When you go to the doctor nowadays, this wasn't when I was a kid, but as Samantha was getting older, we noticed at the pediatricians and stuff that there were certain charts that by this age, your child should be able to tell the doctor this, this, and this. By this age, your child will be in the room with the doctor by themselves and you will not need to be there. Because even the medical community understands more and more that it is a need to be self-sufficient and to self-advocate for yourself is important. Because if they can do it in that realm, that they can do it at school, they can do it at work, they can do it with their friends. And there are some things that you just don't want to say in front of your parents, and that's okay. When it comes to the doctor or when it comes to relationships, and that's okay. Mom and I, my mom has a real problem with going to a lot of PKU functions because she gets concerned about parents nowadays being the quote-unquote helicopter parent. Excuse me. And that, kids are going to college and they're growing up, PKU kids, and they don't know how to weight and scale or where to find their foods or what to do or their medication and how to order and things. And these are things that they need to do. Now, my mom, and that was one big stickler I had with the clinic that I grew up with, they very much thought my mom was kind of hands off. As I got older and we finally had it out and the dietitian was like, well, you need to be able to do this, this, and that. And your mom never taught you how to do this, this, that, because she was never there. You don't know because you weren't in my house. Number one. Number two, my mom taught me how to do those things. And that's what she's supposed to do. Now, whether I chose to do them myself or not is my problem. That's my cross to bear, whether or not I chose to do what I needed to do for my health. But my mom taught me how to do it. She taught me how to do it at an early age. At a young age, I was helping make my formula and I was doing it and I was measuring and I was doing it and I was measuring my food. And she taught me how to do those things. I just had to want to do them for myself. And that's okay. She taught me at an early age that there was only one store at the time in town that carried my bread in a can and these things, and that they didn't always carry it. So if I wanted it and it was that time we were going to order it, I needed to call a couple of weeks in advance from when we were going to go get it to make sure that they had it in stock. If not, could they order it for me? She taught me how to do these things. And that's okay. She wasn't always there like, no, you can't eat that. No, you can't eat this. You can't. Because she had to understand that I knew how to do those things for myself. And she had to prepare me for the world. She taught me to be independent, not codependent. And being codependent on anybody in any situation is not a way to live. Codependency means you can't live without the other person. There's no way for you to function in this world without that other person. That's a problem. Even in a relationship, in a marriage, yes, you always kind of want to be with each other. You want to share things with each other. But if you can't exist because you can't share these things with another by yourself and then tell them about it and share them with them, then that's a problem. Sam and I talk about this a lot because, well, I need to go do this with my husband and he needs to be. Does he? Does he need to be there? Is the world going to come to an end if he doesn't go to the Walmart with you? You know how to be self-sufficient. You don't need to be codependent. Now, granted, they have two small children, and sometimes it's just easier, but there's a difference between easier and I got to have that person there all the time. Self-advocacy breeds self-sufficiency, and that is so important. This topic, again, is so important to me, and I could go on forever and ever and ever about it. I really could. There's simple ways to kind of practice self-advocacy. Like if you're one of those people that have a hard time about advocating for themselves and speaking up for themselves and things, there are certain things that you can do in order to to progress. Because guess what? Progress is progress, no matter how big or how small or whatever. Number one, you start small. Like you start at a restaurant and say you get the wrong order, or you need a refill in your drink and the server is just kind of not even paying attention. Just getting that server and saying, hey, I need a refill, or hey, this isn't quite right. Like, I ordered this and I ordered that, and I asked not to have this on my meal. Just asking for, could you please fix it? That's self-advocating for yourself. That's a small step. If you're going to go to a movie with a friend and they picked a movie and you're not really into it, and you say, hey, can we just do this movie instead? That's self-advocating. Pick small steps, and you will notice more and more that you start speaking up for yourself, and you start really being a tiger for yourself and really being a go-getter. At work, if you're supposed to have a day off and you were promised a day off and it's on the schedule, I have this day off, and then you get into work the day before the day you're supposed to have off, and maybe you have it off for some important reason, and then you notice it's been scratched out, and all of a sudden you're working and somebody else has it off. Going to your boss and saying, hey, like, I have this to do and I had this day planned and I asked for it off months ago and it's been on. What happened? That's advocating for yourself. Now, it may be that there was an emergency that happened and that other person needed the time and something happened, but at least you've expressed yourself. It's okay. It's okay to use your voice. Use those baby steps. So that's what self-advocacy is. And it fits into every facet of your life. I want to leave you with this quote from Maya Angelou. I learned a long time ago, the wisest thing I can do is be on my own side. Be an advocate for myself and others like me. So here's the end all be all. If you're an advocate for yourself, if you self-advocate and you speak up for yourself, 9 times out of 10, there's somebody else in the world or somebody else in your circle that you're helping. You may not realize it, and you may not always see it all the time and in that time, but it's there. And again, self-advocacy is not one of these things that just because you ask for it or you do it, it's going to happen right away and it's going to instantaneously be there. It just means that there's progress. It makes me think of Isaiah 60:22 and that scripture, and I want you to look that up, because it basically says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen for you. It's not always in our time that things happen, but at least we've spoken up for ourselves and we've asked for it and we've said our piece, and these are the things that we want. It's just maybe a timing issue. So that is it for today. I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks. Again, I'm only dropping episodes every other week now. Vaya con Dios. I'll talk at you later.